Guys, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, home of all things stock, investment, and personal finance related. Now for today's video, we've got an extremely high growth biotech company to talk about. The name is Actinium Pharmaceuticals, and I'm really excited about this one for a number of reasons we're going to discuss in today's presentation. Now before we get into it, please take a second, hit the like button, you guys. It's a huge help to myself and the channel. If you're not already subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to do so. And let me know in the comment section below what you think of this company, if you're currently holding shares, and how you think they stack up to some of the other biotech players we've covered on the channel. Now with that being said, let's get into today's video. Okay guys, so that's right. Today's video, we're going to be profiling an extremely exciting biotech company, really on the cusp of some major breakthroughs. As you can see in the share price here, the company's name is Actinium Pharmaceuticals Incorporated. They trade on the New York Stock Exchange in the United States under the ticker ATNM. And as you can see here, this is as of close on Wednesday, November 2nd. The company was up nearly 10% on the day to close out at $14.33. And if we look at a 6-month graph on Actinium, you guys, you can see absolutely explosive growth. This was a company trading at $7 just on October 19th, essentially doubling the share price in the last 2 weeks alone. And if we look back a little bit further to August, you can see this was a sub $5 stock, so almost a 3x since August. You can see market cap is sitting sub $400 million. And as you're going to see throughout today's presentation, I think Actinium could be on the cusp of a major breakthrough here, and really a lot of room or upside still left in the share price. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Actinium Pharmaceuticals, I wanted to jump over to the company website. Then we're going to take a look into their investor presentation and follow up with a really exciting article from Trending Market News that talks about some major catalysts on the horizon for Actinium. So if we jump over to the company website, you can see this is targeted radiotherapies for patients with unmet needs. So we've talked about this in previous videos, but a lot of the conditions that Actinium is really targeting, the current therapeutics and the current treatment alternatives for patients just really don't meet the mark. And that's presenting a huge opportunity for companies like this to come in with new treatments, cutting edge technology to really improve these patient lives. So a company that you can feel good about investing in because it's really leading to meaningful change for millions of people around the world. Actinium is developing a pipeline of antibody radiation conjugates for targeted conditioning and combination therapies. So we're going to talk about that targeted conditioning in a second here, but that's really the treatment plan for a lot of these patients. Positive top-line results from pivotal phase 3 Sierra trial, which we're going to look at. And this Iomab-B, which is a targeted radiotherapy agent designed to improve patient access for bone marrow transplants and bone marrow stem cells to really assist in treatment. And we're actually going to look at their clinical pipeline in a second here to see where these various different technologies are at in terms of their journey towards FDA approval. Now, to give a little bit more context, if we jump into the About Us section, you can see Actinium Pharmaceuticals is a clinical stage biopharmaceutical company, which, as many of you know who follow this channel closely, is a sector that I absolutely love, developing targeted radiotherapies to deliver cancer-killing radiation with cellular level precision. And that's the real differentiator here. Rather than using blanketed radiation or chemotherapy approaches, this is a targeted, unique treatment plan that's showing substantially better results. Actinium's clinical pipeline is led by their radiotherapies that are being applied to targeted conditioning, which is intended to selectively deplete a patient's disease or cancer cells and certain immune cells prior to a bone marrow transplant, which they abbreviate as a BMT. Gene therapy or adoptive cell therapy, such as CAR-T, which we've covered in previous videos. This enables engraftment of these transplanted cells with minimal toxicities and helps these patients recover and live a better quality of life. Our lead product candidate is the I-131 apamistamab or Iomab-B, which has been studied in over 400 patients, including a pivotal phase 3 study of the Iomab-B in elderly relapsed or refractory acute myeloid leukemia, also known as their Sierra trial for BMT or bone marrow transplant conditioning. And again, just for context, leukemia is a broad term used for cancers that are found in blood cells. Now, top-line data from this Sierra trial are expected in the fourth quarter of 2022, so that's one of the near-term catalysts here and why the share price is really starting to see a lot of investor attention. And they're also studying Iomab-ACT alongside CD19, which is a CAR T cell therapy, as a potential targeted conditioning agent, which is in a phase 1 study. Now, their second most advanced product is their Actimab-A, which has been studied in approximately 150 patients with acute myeloid leukemia or AML, and again being used in combination trials as a targeted therapy. Now, the technology and expertise the team has built here has enabled collaborative research partners with Astellas Pharma for solid tumor theranostics and Avio Oncology to create targeted radiotherapy for solid tumors. And finally, a partnership with EpicenRx to create targeted radiotherapy combinations with their clinical stage small molecule inhibitor. So really what this all means, you guys, is a wide variety or pipeline of potential products here, some of them further along than others, targeted at various forms of cancer, CAR T treatments, and solid tumors to really address an unmet need in this category. And again, similar to some of the other companies we've covered, a number of high-profile partnerships that should really add a lot of confidence to prospective investors. So with that being said, now that we understand a little bit more about Actinium Pharmaceuticals, their product pipeline, and their mission, I wanted to jump into the company investor presentation and give you a little bit more context before we move into that final article. Now, in terms of company highlights, they're really on the cusp of clinical successes that can revolutionize our vision for a fully integrated specialty oncology company built on the innovation of their R&D capabilities. So again, I use that word in the intro, you guys. They're on the cusp of some major catalysts here, which we're going to talk about. Their Iomab-B pivotal trial, which we discussed, shows 5 times greater number of patients evaluable for that primary endpoint at all 4 interim analysis. And again, top-line data is expected for Q4 of this year. And I should note they've already secured an EU or European Union commercial partner for this product. Their Actimab-A or backbone therapy is showing extremely impressive results and substantially improved remission rates. They've got a next generation clinical stage targeted conditioning pipeline for the large and rapidly growing cell and gene therapy markets, which again we've addressed in previous videos. Their leading edge innovation radiopharma R&D is driving the partnerships we just discussed, including Astellas in solid tumors, Avio Oncology targeting, and the EpicenRx relationship we just discussed on the previous slide. And on top of all of that, you guys, they've got a strong balance sheet with approximately $115 million of cash, which enables these multiple milestones, including their Sierra BLA, which stands for Biologics License Application, filing, and the potential approval process. So well capitalized or funded to really see these products to the finish line. Now this slide here really does a good job of visualizing where all of these various different therapeutics or technologies are at in terms of their production pipeline. So you can see Iomab-B targeted at bone marrow transplants or BMT is in phase 3 here, you guys. This is the partnership or the EU commercial partnership with Medica Pharma. They've got the Iomab-ACT or CAR T technology, which is in phase 1-2 trials. That's in partnership with the Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center and the National Institute of Health. They've got their Iomab-ACT, which is targeted at gene therapy. Again, same stage in the pipeline, and a super exciting technology to keep an eye on. And then a number of other candidates here in phase 1 trials with development updates and their full phase 1 data and initiating their phase 2 step in 2022. So you can see the short-term or near-term 2022 milestones or catalysts listed on the right here. And then additionally, they give some extra information on their various different partnerships, which we've discussed on the previous 2 slides. Now, I mentioned the word conditioning earlier in the presentation, and this is really the strategy or approach that the treatment plan takes. So conditioning is critical for bone marrow transplants, ACT, and gene therapy to be successful, but currently these potentially curative therapies depend on non-targeted chemotherapy and external radiation, and that's really the treatment plan or strategy that most people with cancer unfortunately have to undergo. So you can see chemotherapy and radiation are non-targeted, they limit their patients' access, there's acute and chronic toxicities, and a high risk of failure or mortality. And you can see this is creating that significant need or demand for new conditioning regimes to replace this non-targeted or generic approach to increase patient access and improve outcomes. So in 2021, there was 176,000 patients diagnosed with cancers that were treatable with bone marrow transplant. However, they only did 20,000 bone marrow transplants in the same year. So that means there's over 150,000 patients that could have potentially benefited from this targeted conditioning or treatment and bone marrow transplants that did not receive one. So that's really the addressable market or the opportunity that Actinium Pharmaceuticals is going after. And you can see as we start to move into the CD45 targeted conditioning asset and program, this is the only clinical stage targeted conditioning program with applications in BMT, gene TX or gene therapy, and CAR T. And the advantages here is it's expressed on leukemia and lymphoma cancer cells only, expressed on immune cells, including bone marrow stem cells. It enables simultaneous tumor or disease and stem cell ablation. It's targeted, so it's not expressed outside the hematopoietic system, and high expression rates of approximately 200,000 copies per cell with extremely low internalization rates in the neighborhood of about 10%. So miles ahead of existing treatment therapies or treatment plans. And I should note that CD45 is essentially a cancer marker, which has been recognized to be highly specific to various different forms of lymphoma. So this targeted conditioning allows for the treatment of only specific cells and really eliminates a lot of the negative effects of traditional radiation or chemotherapy treatments. So to round things out here, I now wanted to jump over to this article from trendingmarketnews.com talking about some of these major catalysts in a bit more detail. So you can see the title, what could FDA approval mean for this little known biotech stock? So FDA approval is the next huge catalyst for Actinium Pharmaceuticals, and I'll leave a link to this article along with the company website in the video description below if you want to go in and take a closer look for yourself. See why Cantor Fitzgerald initiated coverage with an overweight rating and a target price of $20 for Actinium Pharmaceuticals, again, ticker ATNM, which is why I said in the intro, based on these price targets we're starting to see, I think there's still a lot more upside in this company. Now, as we continue to scroll down, biotechnology stocks are among the most high risk, high reward stocks in the market, which is exactly why I love them and focus on them on this channel. Many biotech companies are working to develop one or two world-changing drugs or therapies for these billion-dollar markets. And fortunately or unfortunately, depending how you see it, the fates of these organizations are often closely tied to the study data and approval from the FDA or other drug regulators on their products. And that's the exact opportunity that Actinium Pharmaceuticals finds himself in today. Now, we already mentioned that the results from their phase 3 Sierra trial are expected in Q4 of this year. Prior studies have shown that 100% of patients who received their Iomab-B were able to receive that bone marrow transplant and engraftment without any type of delay. So we just saw that figure of 150,000 patients who were not able to get a BMT that needed one in 2021. So this is a huge opportunity here. The results from their phase 1 study of their Iomab-B in combination with CLAGM for the treatment of acute myeloid leukemia patients is expected for Q4 of this year as well. So that's this study here with phase 1 results coming out. And as mentioned in the investor presentation, Actinium Pharmaceuticals has over $115 million in cash, which is enough to fully fund their operations through to the middle of 2025. So fully funded, you don't need to worry about any of that capital or capital concerns over the next few fiscal years. Now, the article includes a great interview with the CEO who's named Sandesh Seth. So I would highly encourage you guys to go in and take a look at this one for yourself if you're thinking about making an investment. And the article then continues to say Actinium Pharmaceuticals could be a great speculative biotech play to look into because of a lot of these near-term catalysts. So you can see it's because it's gearing up to report top-line results from their phase 3 Sierra study, which is using that Iomab-B as a preconditioning agent in patients over the age of 55 with active relapsed or refractory acute myeloid leukemia, AML, prior to receiving these stem cell transplants. And this is huge because it could provide the capability for more patients to benefit or be able to receive stem cell transplants in the future. So as we've mentioned in previous videos, The road through the clinical trial process is long, it's expensive, there's a number of milestones companies need to hit, and Actinium is now in the home stretch, which could attract a huge amount of investor attention as they put this product into production. Now, the article then goes on to lay out a number of key reasons why they're so excited about this organization. So we're going to go through these in a little bit more detail. Number one, we've talked about this. There is a demand for a leukemia cure, and the market is currently in need of better solutions, meaning it looks extremely lucrative. Now, leukemia therapeutics is expected to be worth about $17 billion by 2024, which is up from only $12.3 billion in 2019. So that's a compound annual growth rate of about 7%. And unfortunately, we're seeing a rising prevalence of leukemia and correspondingly introduction of innovative therapies in the market. And this is not a trend we're just seeing in North America, but emerging countries around the world are expected to provide a wide range of growth opportunities for players or companies in this space. Now, you can see this rising prevalence in various forms of leukemia, and really the proof is in the pudding here as we're starting to see increasing number of approvals and new and innovative drugs in the immunotherapy sector. Now, the second reason they're so excited about Actinium is really this Iomab-B compound, which could be nearing treatment with their Sierra trials. So they use the statement, Actinium isn't just talking the talk, they're walking the walk, alluding to how close they are to the finish line here. So on September 15th, Actinium announced their enrollment for its pivotal phase 3 Sierra trial of this Iomab-B compound. This is a 150 patient multi-center randomized trial, and as their executive VP of clinical development goes on to say, Iomab-B was developed to address the significant unmet need of patients who could benefit and possibly be cured of their blood cancer with a bone marrow transplant, but could not receive a bone transplant because of their non-targeted conditioning regimes. And again, this is extremely unfortunate, you guys, that we have treatment plans available, but patients aren't able to take advantage because of these non-targeted radiation or chemotherapy regimes. Now, they then go on to say the remarkably consistent and high rates of BMT engraftment, together with the low rates of non-relapse transplant-related mortality at day 100 with the Iomab-B through 100% enrollment gives us great confidence in the Sierra trial. So the team is super excited about the promise here. They're very confident that it will pass this trial, and this is going to result in thousands and thousands of lives being saved each and every year. Or in other words, a game changer for the industry and people struggling with these conditions. Now, the third reason here, the Sierra trial is the only randomized phase 3 trial to offer bone marrow transplants or BMT. We alluded to this a little bit earlier, you guys. And this Iomab-B is a radiotherapy that targets cells expressing that CD45 indicator. So this is a protein found only on blood cancer cells and immune cells. Like I mentioned earlier, this includes bone marrow stem cells with the radioisotope iodine-131, and it is intended to be a targeted conditioning agent to enable potentially curative BMTs or bone marrow transplants. So this is a specific target that this technology is going after. And that gives them the ability to completely revolutionize the medical community, especially when you look at how impressive the trial data results already are. So that 100% engraftment rate, their personalized Iomab-B therapy, which enables targeted delivery of radiation just to the areas of concern, and the Iomab-B delivers a high amount of targeted radiation to the bone marrow with minimal impact on other organs, resulting in lower rates of severe and adverse events. So because it's targeted, it really limits the chances of unintended outcomes. Now, the fourth point here talks about their portfolio or patent portfolio with international IP or intellectual property. So this really addresses that global demand for these type of products and not just focusing on the domestic market. So Actinium recently announced its intellectual property portfolio around this Iomab-B has been further strengthened internationally. So they've got that presence in the EU and that production or commercialization partner. And in addition to that, Actinium has been granted a patent covering the same composition and methods of administration in Japan. So this really opens up the potential to monetize these technologies down the road and get into more and more markets around the world. And the final point I'll mention, reason 5, Analysts are going crazy over ATNM's potential upside. We talked about this in the intro. The company has seen explosive share price growth over the last couple of months. They've blown through the 50-day moving average at 722. The 200-day moving average was sitting at 585. And as you can see, the company has already broken out, and analysts have given price targets in excess of $20. You can see from Cantor Fitzgerald, which at the time this article was put together represented an upside of approximately 185%. Now, the share price has already moved substantially since this article was put together. However, based on the appetite from the investment community for these biotech type of companies, I think there's still a tremendous opportunity here, especially if you're looking for exposure to biotech in your personal portfolio. So with that being said, you guys, this is definitely one to keep an eye on. ATNM, Actinium Pharmaceuticals, could be on the cusp of a potentially revolutionary treatment with a massive global addressable market. I'd be super curious to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know what you think of this company, the biotech space overall, and if you're currently holding shares. If you're still watching the video at this point in time, hopefully you found some value, so make sure you hit the like button. And if you're not currently subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to do so. That's all for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.